Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in two different German tech tree tank destroyers, and that is the Jagdpanther 2 and the Ferdinand. Now these are two opposing tank destroyers that you can pick to go towards the Jagdpanzer E100. You can get the Ferdinand from the Tiger P or from the Jagdpanther, and you can get the Jagdpanther 2 only via the Jagdpanther, which is the sort of traditional straight line to the Jagdpanzer E100. And it's kind of the versus video because I had a pretty nice game in the Jagdpanther or in the Ferdinand, and I was like, hey, you know what? I've never really played the Jagdpanther 2, so let's just go play the Jagdpanther 2 for a wee bit, see what it's like. And then we had a pretty decent game in it as well. And it was like, you know what, let's show off the differences between the two pretty much, because they are two different sides of the same coin. Because you've got this gun, which is great, this 128mm with pretty similar gun handling, well, pretty much the same gun handling, pretty much the same DPM as well. But there's two different playstyles, because the Jagdpanther 2 has better mobility in lieu of its armour, and the Ferdinand has better armour in lieu of its mobility. So it's down to how you want to play it. Both tanks receive buffs as well, so it's a good thing to go through them. The Jagdpanther 2 is the first replay, and it did get some buffs. So it went from the upper hull armour, went from 100mm to 125mm. And the reverse speed went from 12 kilometers an hour to 18, which is a massive buff. This tank now reverses really, really damn quickly, and it's pretty nice that it's got that. It helps it get away a little bit from situations like you're seeing in front of us, where a Barask YOLOs over, and then a T100 LT comes after us. Now, naturally, this position that we're playing on Fisherman's Bay here is a position that the Jagdpanther 2 will play pretty decently. I mean, when this first game started, Swindle was like, you're not going to the mid-ridge with the Jagdpanther 2. It's not going to go very well with what the highly mobile tanks that they had in the enemy team. It's like, well, it might not, but at the same time, I could definitely try. And the Jagdpanther 2 has the ability to be able to do it, because you've got great track traverse, you've got great mobility, and obviously you've got a pretty good gun with pretty decent DPM. So it's like, you know what? We'll try it, and it's working. If I wanted to do this in the Ferdinand, it definitely wouldn't have gone anywhere near as well, because I wouldn't have had the mobility to get some of those early shots. I definitely wouldn't have been able to keep up with the traversing Barasks or T100 LTs as well, because the track traverse is way worse on the Ferdinand. So it's definitely a difference in how the tank plays. Also, this tank has better camo. Not by much, but it does have better camo. And that means if you do spec for camo, which is how I have it spec'd, it's going to go better for you. And right here is an example of where the camo is definitely nicer, because if I was in a Ferdinand, that 705A probably would be spotting me. Although we do have some concealment in front of us, which helps. But that 705A would probably be spotting us. But the Jagdpanther 2 isn't quite as easy to spot. In terms of equipment, or in terms of a commander on this tank, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, and Silent Driving. Now, I run the camo perks again to make the camo better on this tank, because you can play it a bit more stealthy, and it really helps you when you want to fall back, especially when you're in a tier 10 game, because you don't have that much hit points. And again, your armor isn't that good. Even with the 125mm upper plate on it now, it's still not that good. It still gets penned a lot. You can then play that more stealthy tank destroyer if you want to, and it helps out in that way that the Ferdinand can't, because the Ferdinand really just gets spotted all the time, so you can't really play that stealthy tank destroyer role, and it has to try and brawl a little bit more, which still struggles a little bit with its armor. But that's why I like to run it on the Jagdpanther 2, because it really did help me go, you know what, I want to fall back, use some cover, use some bushes, and stay unspotted, and it really does do it. And you saw it a little bit with the 705A there. And yeah, this Jagdpanther 2 actually was pretty fun, because I didn't go through this tank to go to the Jagdpanzer E100. I ended up playing the Tiger P to get to the Panzer 7, and then had the branch off to get to the Ferdinand. I was like, hey, you know what, why not get the Ferdinand and play the Ferdinand through to the Egg Tiger to the Jagdpanzer E100. So I've only recently started playing the Jagdpanther 2, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, because it's a really mobile platform. You see with the track traverse that it's really good, you see with the mobility being really good, and then you've got this really great gun that is also on the Ferdinand that's really reliable for the most part, and it's just, it's a great fun tank to play. And to be honest, I don't think you've got a bad choice in either the Ferdinand or the Jagdpanther 2. I think before buffs, the Jagdpanther 2 would have probably been the definitely better tank to pick, because, well, the armour on the Ferdinand is not the most reliable in the universe, and it's very, very easy to just wreck. And the Jagdpanther 2 had that mobility, which helped it get out of more situations than the Ferdinand ever could, while having the same gun and DPM and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. But since the buffs, I think you've got a good choice out of the two. The two separate different playstyles. It's whichever one you prefer. You can take the Ferdinand and play a little bit more better armoured, but again, the armour still isn't that wonderful. But it's at a bit of a slower pace, and you can, put yourselves in a bit of a more brawly situation, play more like some of the tanks in the line, play a bit further up as well. And you can have pretty decent fun with that. Or, like I say, you can use this and have the great mobility, great gun, pretty decent camo, and have a great time. And so far in this game on Fisherman's Bay, we're up to 3.5k damage with 203 assistance. There's only 3 tanks left, which we know are in this corner. We're just waiting for the Yahtzee to get spotted up, which we slap a shot into, and then Swindle finishes him off. Now there's a Cobra and the artillery left, and we're like, okay, they're definitely in this corner. So the question is the Cobra sat in the bushes at B2, or is he right in the corner, or is he at A2 with the RE? And there we go, the Cobra gets spotted. We can overmatch his side, because he's only got like 30mm of armour, which we slap the shot straight in, pen it easily, and then he dips down below the cover, so we're not going to get another shot into that guy. But he's yelling to the brass, get a shut down, and we finish off with 4.3k damage with 203 assistance. Finished with a pretty decent game for the Jagdpanther 2 in a tier 10 game. We finished with a victory, 6 kills, 4.3k damage, 203 assistance, like I say. Ace Tanker, the Halonen's medal for killing 3 tanks 2 tiers higher, so we killed 3 tier 10s. The Top Gun, 1981 base XP. A really nice game for the Jagdpanther 2, and yeah, screw you, Swindle, I can't play it on that mid-range, doesn't matter about those mobility tanks. Naturally, it's not going to go that well all the time, to be fair, but yeah, the Jagdpanther 2 could definitely play that position a lot better than the Ferdinand could. The Ferdinand would definitely not have done very well in that position because of the lack of track traverse and the lack of mobility, essentially, for it. And, yeah, in terms of the crew, by the way, on the Jagdpanther 2, in terms of the equipment, I run rammer, optics, and a camo net on the Jagdpanther 2. That's the equipment for that setup. And in terms of the crew on that I did forget to mention, is that I don't run track mechanic on it. But track mechanic is something that you might want to think about taking instead of silent driving or muffled shot, because it's a bit risky on a turretless tank destroyer to not have something that helps you repair your tracks quicker, because if you get tracked, you can be dead and screwed. And yeah, it can be a little bit awkward. So we're on to the second replay, and the second replay is the Ferdinand. And the Ferdinand I've always loved. Is what it is. I just loved the Ferdinand. It was a lot of fun to play for me. I really enjoyed it because this gun was so good. And the armour, while not being great and really easy to pen because of the side cheeks on the armour and the lower plate being trash, and it only really been 200mm of armour, and the fact that the upper casement for a long time was only 200mm of armour, which meant that anything with, like, 230 pen plus easily butchered it. I still enjoyed it. And I really did love playing it. It was a lot of fun for me to play, and yeah, I always have a soft spot in my heart for it. And they buffed it, which was quite nice. They gave it some good love, which really, again, like I say, really helps the tank, makes it more nice to play, and will make it easier to grind generally than it was. So, what did they buff on the Ferdinand? They buffed the view range from 370 to 380, nice. Hold corners from 80mm to 110, which means that at tight angles, because beforehand, no matter how you angled, they were extremely easy to pen. Now, they're a bit harder, and they're more likely to ricochet shots, which is damn nice. Trust me, you will ricochet a lot more shots off those turret cheeks. It's not a turret. Those hull armor cheeks than you did before. It's still, again, not infallible, and it's still pretty lightly armoured, but you just, like I say, you just ricochet more than you used to, which is nice. In terms of the frontal superstructure armour, you went from 200mm to 250, which is great, which means tier 9s and 10s standard pen won't butcher your upper hull armour anymore. When you're exposed to shoot people with the gun, you actually hide your upper plate and lower plate. So that's really nice. You've got upper hull areas from 200 to 215. I'm not quite sure what it means in those areas, but a little bit of a buff there. And the reverse speed went from an incredibly slow 10 kilometers an hour to 14, which again is really pretty damn nice, and it helps with the quality of life for the tank. And yeah, those buffs for this tank is really nice. It really helps the tank. Again, quality of life. It's quality of life issues for the tank, and it really helped it out a lot, and made it definitely a lot more fun to play. And it adds to my soft spot that I have for this tank. So in terms of a crew, because this tank is more armoured and has no camo compared to the Jagdpanther 2, I do run it a bit more brawly. So I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Clutch Braking, Off-Road Driving, and Run and Gun. Run and Gun and Steady Aim to make the gun 10% more accurate in general, 10% more accurate while on the move, because, well, I like to take shots on the move, especially when I'm moving position to position. And then Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, because the track traverse isn't the best. The off-road driving to help me get my top speed easier. And then with equipment, I run rammer, traction system, and optics. Optics to make my view range as good as possible. Traction system to give me more. It's not really about the top speed. It's more about the track traverse, to be honest, for me, for the Ferdinand, just to make it better. And then the rammer to make your DPM as good as possible as well. And with all those things, the track traverse is pretty damn nice with the Ferdinand. Well, I say pretty damn nice. It's still slow, but it's a lot nicer than it would be without those perks. And it makes it a little bit more bearable and generally more usable. And it's a pretty fun tank. So we're on this game on Highway. We've had Swindle go run along the 6-7 line, go spotting people. We ended up losing a lot of hit points. At one stage, I thought I was absolutely dead. And fortunately enough, we ended up ricocheting a shot or two and getting behind the cover and surviving. But because Swindle was pushed up so high, it was like, well, I'm going to push up so I can keep them in render range and shoot for you. And so far, we've managed 3.2k damage, which is really nice. There is a T-49 that's been flitting about, which is a problem. And as you saw earlier on with the first shots on the light tanks, we made sure we got rid of the HWK-12 and the Vanguard so that we could help Swindle and so that we could move up without getting spotted. But like I said, this T-49 has been a bit of a pest. He was one that ended up spotting us and got us absolutely trashed as soon as we got spotted because we were in a very aggressive position. And fortunately enough, like I say, we survived and we got a nice shot into him as well. But now we're helping Swindle out because this Barask was coming in on him and we get a nice shot into his side which tracks him and damages Emarak. But unfortunately the other Barask shuts him down, but we get a nice shot into the back of that Barask and set him on fire and shut him down. We've ended up running out of standard AP, which means we're on the APCR, which the APCR velocity on both tanks, it's pretty nice. You go to 1150 meters a second instead of 920 on the AP, which is a big difference, and you really do notice the velocity on the APCR. A lot of people with these 128s will fire APCR just for the velocity because it makes it a lot easier to shoot at range. It makes it a lot easier to hit those moving targets, and especially when you're a tank destroyer, that means the world of difference having that extra 200 meters a second. But right now, you can see we are low on health. I don't want to risk pushing forward too soon and dying. This T-49 is a big problem for me, and that's what I was being careful of. We get a big, nice shot slapped into that guy, and he gets shut down. Now the T-49's gone, I can be a little bit more confident moving forward because I'm not going to get spotted now. We get a nice shot into the side of the 75's turret there. We had a nice shot at it and we managed to get it straight in. This is where the gun, the 128mm on this tank is really damn nice, and on the Jagdpanther 2, because you can just hit those very slight shots, which is nice. We tried to take a shot at the building there because I didn't know if it was behind a destructible building or if it was one of the indestructible ones. Clearly it's indestructible. The E75 pulls out just enough to give us the back end of his turret, and we shut down the E75. There's only, what, 4 tanks left. There's the artillery, which will be sat probably at CD0. In fact, it gets spotted at E0. And then there's the Barask and the WZ-120. The WZ-120 is probably going to die in a minute, and it's just the Barask and the artillery to go for. So I switched to HE because, well, we don't have the best HE pen. We do have 65mm of pen, and we should probably the Barask is, what, 20mm of armour? So as long as we avoid the spaced armour, we should be able to go through that guy. We can't kill him in a one-shot with the AP, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to risk it for a biscuit, put all my eggs in one basket, and go for the one-shot with the HE, because obviously your HE damage is like 630, which means we could put a hefty amount of damage into this guy, and he'd probably still kill as well with an on-the-move shot. Now he's taking a hit, it's like, actually, I could definitely kill this guy with HE now, which is nice. And it's like, come on, give me a shot. Come on, bro. And thank you very much. We shut him down. Now there's just the FV3805 left, but he gets shut down, and we finish the game with a great total for the Ferdinand in a really nice game for it. And we finished the game with the victory. Top on the team, 6 kills, 6.2k damage, a little bit of blocked. Ace tanker, high caliber, the top gun. 2,128 base XP. A really nice game for the Ferdinand. It's a tank that, like I say, has a soft spot in my heart because I always really enjoyed it as a turretless tank destroyer. I think it's just because I love this 128mm gun. It's such a sexy gun, and it slaps so hard with great DPM. But they're both good tanks. They're both good choices to go for, and they're really nice with the buffs. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.